Direct hit, you've made it this far. That means something here resonated with you, didn't it? Backhand index pointing right, so don't just scroll away. Hit that subscribe button now because what's coming next will challenge you, move you, and maybe even change you. Bell, tap the bell to make sure you don't miss the stories that reveal hidden truths, spark real emotions, and end with twists that will leave you speechless. Speech balloon, you could come back later, but the feeling you have right now, you'll never get this exact moment again. Right arrow, subscribe now. One click, and you're in. Miss it and you might regret it. Today we embark on a journey into the narrative that awaits us. I often find myself lost in thought, reflecting on the choices I've made and the unforeseen journeys my life has embarked upon. Things have not always been as they are now. At one point I was convinced that I had it all. A perfect life, a loyal partner, a tranquil home, and a daily rhythm that offered both safety and comfort. There are indeed moments when life catches you off guard with its surprises. It shakes up your familiar routines, pushes you to venture beyond your limits, and breaks down the walls you've built. That is exactly what came to my mind. In my past, I was a devoted partner. My husband Andrew was an extraordinary man, dedicated, kind-hearted, and genuinely devoted. We had spent over 10 years together, and at first it appeared we possessed the perfect mix of friendship and love. We knew each other's quirks, cherished songs, and even our preferred coffee choices. Amidst the familiar cadence of everyday existence, an unexpected sensation began to stir within me. I envisioned it would be utterly tedious, the kind that saps your zeal and prompts you to question all that you believe in. Seeped in slowly, bit by bit. First it was subtle. Andrew and I would delve into conversation about our day, exchanging laughter and playful banter. Nevertheless, an unvoiced tension hovered in the air between us, a reality we both opted to overlook. It was not merely the affection that remained untouched and pure. It was an experience that delved deeper, woven with intricacies, and proved challenging to express. A feeling of disconnection washed over me, as though I were inhabiting a parallel realm, one where my presence felt incomplete. A wave of sensation enveloped me, an overwhelming yearning for something just out of reach, though I struggled to define what that elusive something might be. At that moment, Ryan made his entrance. Since their childhood, he had been Andrew's dearest companion. They had shared a wealth of experiences, weaving together countless teenage stories and steadfastly uplifting one another. At the outset of our partnership, Ryan started to. He devoted a considerable portion of his time to being with us. He would join us for dinner, share weekends with us, and as the days turned into months, he genuinely became a member of the family. In my eyes, he was always just Andrew's best friend, a guy who seamlessly blended into my life with an easygoing, amiable presence. Slowly, the tides of circumstance started to change. I began to notice the way Ryan looked at me. At first, it was subtle, but as time went on, it became clear that there was something in his gaze, a mix of longing and curiosity, that stayed with me. I found myself caught in a blend of flattery and a hint of discomfort. Words eluded me, leaving me uncertain about how to reply. He consistently kept his distance and avoided any inappropriate comments. Whenever he stepped into the room, the air shifted in a way that was impossible to ignore. An unmistakable energy surged between us, a vibrant force we could not ignore. At first, I tried to brush it off, persuading myself that it was just a product of my imagination, a result of my tendency to overthink everything because of my love for my husband. And there stood Ryan. He was simply a cherished friend. As I continued to reflect, the depth of this internal tug became increasingly powerful. At first, it surpassed simple physical allure. The experience resonated deeply, hitting me squarely in the heart. In Ryan's presence, I felt an understanding from him that was unlike anything I had ever experienced before. It feels like ages have gone by since our conversations flowed so seamlessly, as if a connection had breathed life into my soul. Years had passed since I last experienced that feeling. On a rainy Friday night, everything changed. With Andrew required to put in extra hours at the office, Ryan took it upon himself to swing by for a visit. We immersed ourselves in conversation for hours, reminiscing about the past and exchanging laughter over inside jokes that only we could appreciate. It flowed naturally and without thought, And for the first time in what felt like an eternity, I genuinely experienced the here and now. That evening, a transformation took place within Ryan. He made his entrance, reaching out his hand across the table. The warmth of his hand ignited a thrilling shiver that raced through my body. In a fleeting moment, I became utterly disoriented, detached from the world around me. It transcended mere depth, bearing a weight of significance that could not be overlooked. "Are you okay?" he asked softly, his voice tinged with concern. I nodded, but inside, turmoil swirled, leaving me feeling lost and unsure of how to steer through the complex sea of emotions that roiled within. The feelings he stirred within me caught me off guard. I had always held my loyalty as a wife, completely devoted to Andrew in high regard. In that instant, doubt started to seep in. I quickly pulled back my hand, a surge of embarrassment flooding through me from the recent incident. "I'm doing fine, just a touch weary," I replied. Ryan seemed hesitant, yet opted to let the matter rest. He merely nodded and reclined in his chair, observing me intently. The air around us was heavy with a profound stillness, rich with unspoken emotions and deep reflections. We were completely immersed in that moment. Neither of us was willing to face it head-on. That evening, Andrew arrived home late, weary from a demanding day at the office. He pressed his lips to my forehead, and I returned a smile, masking the turmoil within. Yet within me, I felt the distance growing, like an insurmountable barrier standing in my way. I found myself questioning the authenticity of my connection with Ryan. Was it a true bond, or simply a transient affair destined to fade away? The days that followed drifted by in a blur. My thoughts drifted aimlessly, scattered in every direction. That night kept replaying in my mind. I found myself reflecting on each moment, striving to grasp the tumult of emotions that emerged. I found myself keenly attuned to the delicate equilibrium I was traversing, caught between loyalty and temptation. The idea that a change had taken place between Ryan and me remained etched in my thoughts. I persisted in brushing it aside, reassuring myself that I was simply being naive. I held Andrew dear and would never dream of betraying his trust. With each passing day, my attraction to Ryan intensified, becoming more profound and undeniable. The chemistry that existed between us was unmistakable, a bond neither of us could ignore. The more I fought against it, the more evident it was that I had succumbed. The most daunting aspect was the guilt, an ever-present, disquieting feeling that I was betraying Andrew. I have reached a decision that cannot be undone. I cherished him deeply. Yet, beneath the surface, I longed for something deeper than simple affection. After countless years, I finally encountered the profound sensation of being truly seen and desired. And that was alongside Ryan. Petite, unbeknownst to me, the journey that lay before me would take me to unforeseen destinations. Yet, it was clear that my life stood at the threshold of change. The days that followed that night with Ryan were steeped in a lingering, unsettling tension that hung over me like a heavy fog. Every morning, I awoke with a lingering unease, that stubborn knot in my stomach refusing to fade away. In moments of introspection, I grappled with my emotions, often persuading myself that this was just a transient phase, a momentary weakness in my resolve. With every meeting with Ryan and our increasingly intimate discussions, the connection between us deepened further. It became ever more apparent. It wasn't that my feelings for Andrew were lacking. On the contrary, I loved him deeply, more than I had ever loved anyone before. He was my cornerstone, my steadfast partner through every twist and turn, always by my side in moments of joy and sorrow. Our life together unfolded in a warm embrace of familiarity and rhythm. Often I experienced a sense of happiness, yet an intense, unquiet sensation lingered within me, an insatiable desire for something beyond what I possessed. It was more than just Andrew or Ryan. The journey unfolded as one of profound transformation and growth. I realized that I had been overlooking a part of myself for an extended period. At a pivotal moment, I shifted my focus away from my own existence and turned my attention to Andrew, to the family we had created, to the life we had built together. I found myself drifting from my authentic self, my true desires, and my essential needs. In an unexpected turn, I found myself discovering facets of my identity through Ryan. Though the connection didn't spark instantly, There was something about him that resonated deeply, addressing a long-standing emptiness within me. Nothingness. When Ryan spoke to me, it was as if he genuinely grasped my essence, a stark contrast to the shallow exchanges I usually experienced with Andrew. He genuinely listened when I shared my thoughts, observing the nuances about me that Andrew frequently missed. It felt as if Ryan could perceive every emotion and nuance I revealed. In the laughter we shared, I felt an innate connection, a true friendship, and a spark that revitalized me. An experience unlike any I had ever known. A considerable stretch of time had passed since I last experienced this feeling. I tried to brush it off, persuading myself that I was simply overthinking, that it existed only within the confines of my imagination. Yet it was not. Every moment shared with Ryan deepened the chasm I sensed between myself and Andrew. It transcended a simple emotional experience. It struck a chord on a tangible level as well. The closeness we once knew had faded away, leaving a palpable void inside me. Andrew and I no longer possessed the bond we once cherished. We let go of each other's hands without a word, and the farewell kisses lost their meaning. The excitement we once reveled in appears to have dimmed into memory. Instead, we simply went through the motions of marriage, pretending that everything was fine. In all honesty, we found ourselves too weary to face the growing divide that had emerged between us. As Friday night unfolded, the lines between friendship and something more began to blur, and I felt the air thick with the promise of change. Ryan showed up after dinner, and with Andrew away on a business trip, it was just the two of us. Once again, the serenity of the evening seemed to embrace everything around. The air crackled with an electric energy, enveloping the surroundings in a vibrant intensity. We were lounging on the couch, engaging in our typical conversation about life, work, our history, and the things we both connect with. The conversation unfolded with ease. That night, however, held a unique quality all its own. Our bond transcended the limitations of language. A silent tension was gradually building between us. Ryan's gaze rested on me, not in a disquieting way, but in a manner that sharpened my perception of the moment. It held an enchanting allure. I noted every delicate movement he made. He reached for the remote, and as our fingers brushed together, a rush of warmth enveloped me, sending my heart racing. I quickly pulled back my hand, but a part of me longed to stay close. I longed to seize that moment for eternity. I didn't want to create any distance between us. That was the crux of the matter. I longed to hold on to this unique connection we have, eager to explore its secrets. "Are you okay?" Ryan asked again, his voice gentle and compassionate. He maintained his composure. His gaze held steady on me, as though he could feel the tension that hung in the air between us. I nodded, but a tightness seized my throat. I found myself grappling with an absence of words and deeds. My emotions were in turmoil. Indeed, I find myself feeling somewhat weary, deceived once again, weighed down by the weight of my own expressions. He perceived my true self with uncanny clarity. "You don't have to pretend with me," he said softly, leaning in, his voice almost a whisper. "I can certainly perceive when something feels amiss." The sincerity in his voice caught me off guard, and for a fleeting moment, I felt myself being pulled into an experience I wasn't entirely ready for, something I didn't fully grasp. Yet, in all honesty, I found myself grappling with a sense of uncertainty about whether I genuinely wished to take a step back at all. A considerable part of me longed to delve into the emotions that had been building up inside for weeks. It transcended mere appearances. A profound emotional bond existed as well. He possessed a remarkable talent for making me feel genuinely seen, understood, and valued in a manner I had never encountered before. I took a deep breath, striving to regain my composure. "Ryan," I whispered softly, "everything feels so bewildering to me." He nodded slowly, a softness creeping into his expression. "Feeling that way is entirely natural. Life unfolds in a whirlwind, and emotions often weave a complex tapestry." He shifted his stance, turning to face me more squarely. His eyes were locked onto mine. "It's perfectly okay not to have everything sorted out at this moment." The silence hung between us, stretching out in that fleeting moment. The air was heavy, charged with the unspoken tension of our mutual anticipation. My thoughts were shrouded in uncertainty as I contemplated my next moves. I expected he would pause and suggest we stop before matters intensified. Yet Ryan stood unwavering. He watched me intently, waiting for my next action. In that fleeting moment, oblivious to the repercussions to Andrew, and to the guilt that would inevitably follow, I reached out my hand to him. I made the leap and Ryan met me halfway. His lips brushed against mine, soft and gentle at first, and filled with empathy. There was a palpable sense of uncertainty, as if we were both adrift in a sea of confusion, struggling to grasp the essence of our actions. In that moment, everything else vanished. The realm that once intertwined with my existence alongside Andrew vanished completely. A profound connection lingered between Ryan and me. I drew back breathless, my heart racing wildly. The gravity of the recent events hit me with great intensity. I had crossed a threshold. Retreating was no longer an option. Honestly, I found myself grappling with uncertainty regarding my wish to move forward. A piece of my essence, I felt an exhilarating rush of energy that was unlike anything I had experienced in ages. Ryan, I'm at a loss for words. I whispered, my voice quivering. You needn't say a word. He replied softly, his eyes steady and filled with warmth. I want you to understand that I will always be here for you, regardless of what unfolds. At that instant, it dawned on me that everything had irrevocably changed. The past had faded into oblivion, and the illusion of normalcy could no longer be upheld. The road stretched out before me, cloaked in ambiguity, casting me into shadows regarding what awaited in the distance. I found myself utterly oblivious to the potential destinations that lay ahead. I came to the stark realization that I had crossed a line, and now I must confront the inevitable repercussions that lay ahead. In the days that followed, the entire situation with Ryan loomed over me like a dark, oppressive storm. Every moment carried a weight of significance, and each glance exchanged between us overflowed with unvoiced sentiments. It transcended the simple act of a kiss. It was the series of events that led up to it, the quiet moments, the mounting tension, the evolution of my feelings. It appeared that a passage had been unlocked, one that could never be sealed again. I found myself caught off guard by the challenges that awaited me. The burden of guilt felt insurmountable. Andrew remained blissfully ignorant, and I struggled to hold his gaze, feeling like a fraud in the process. He continued to be the unwavering partner, the same man who had been there through every trial. With every encounter, every kiss or embrace, the weight of my actions pressed down on me increasingly. A feeling washed over me, a realization that I was not only deceiving him but also fooling myself. I had ventured too far. I found myself at a loss regarding how to address the challenges at hand. My feelings for Ryan ran deep. They transcended mere physical attraction. It struck a chord with me emotionally as well. Whenever we shared moments or engaged in conversation, I felt a profound sense of recognition that had eluded me for so long. With Ryan, I was free to embrace my authentic self. He understood my thoughts in a manner that Andrew never managed to. Being with him felt natural, and our connection appeared to be instinctual. However, the truth was, it was complex. Ryan stood as Andrew's dearest confidant, amplifying the tension of the moment. Lost in a sea of uncertainty, I grappled with the turmoil I had wrought, questioning whether it was even possible to restore order to the chaos. All I grasped was that I found myself at a crossroads, where every path appeared to promise only more suffering and doubt. On that Friday, Ryan made another visit. Andrew lingered at the office, and I realized that my attempts to evade him could no longer continue. I found myself facing it head-on. I faced the situation head-on and mapped out my subsequent actions. As the doorbell chimed, an overwhelming sense of foreboding washed over me. I flung the door wide, and there he was, poised just beyond the threshold, a faint smile gracing his lips. "Hey," he murmured softly, his eyes searching mine as if trying to unravel the depths of my emotions. "Hey," I replied, stepping back to grant him access. The air around us crackled with tension, echoing the stillness that often precedes a storm. Unsure of our next steps, we found ourselves trapped in an uneasy silence. We remained in stillness, lost in the depths of each other's gaze. "Are you okay?" After a brief pause, Ryan asked, his voice gentle and filled with empathy. I nodded, but a sense of unease lingered within me. A tempest of feelings engulfed me: guilt, longing, confusion, each emotion woven together, rendering me completely adrift in my quest for understanding. I find myself pondering my earlier remarks, yet it appears my words have inexplicably dissipated. Indeed, he whispered gently, drawing a fraction closer. His presence offered a comforting embrace, yet it wove intricate threads of complexity into the fabric of the moment. It was never my intention for things to reach this point, but here we are. With my heart pounding, I finished his thought. I could feel the trajectory of this conversation unfolding. Honestly, I found myself questioning my readiness, but deep down, I understood the necessity of rising to the occasion. I found myself compelled to face it, for avoiding the matter was merely intensifying the predicament. I have no desire to cause you or Andrew any pain, he said, his eyes fixed on me with genuine sincerity. I never meant for matters to reach this level, yet I persist in pretending that all is well, even though the truth is starkly different. I find myself at a crossroads, unsure of the path that lies ahead. Before I could restrain myself, I murmured it gently. My feelings for Andrew run deep. I find myself in a delicate position. I do not wish to inflict pain upon him, yet I cannot ignore the depth of my feelings for you. Ryan reached out, his hand enveloping mine in a firm grip. His touch emanated a comforting warmth, a soothing balm for the soul. At this juncture, there is no urgency to arrive at any conclusions. I'm not asking you to make a choice between Andrew and myself. What I seek is for you to embrace honesty within yourself, uncover your genuine desires, and recognize what truly brings you happiness. I pulled my hand back, a wave of overwhelm crashing over me. An overwhelming tide of feelings swept through me. Honestly, I feel a sense of uncertainty regarding what genuinely brings me joy these days. I have been so consumed with caring for those around me, my roles as a wife, friend, and daughter, that I have lost sight of my true self. There is a sense of uncertainty that envelopes my desires, and the very idea of delving into their depths stirs a wave of anxiety within me. Ryan held his silence for a moment, his gaze fixed on me, revealing a deep understanding in his eyes. You don't have to have everything figured out right now, he said. Nonetheless, achieving clarity is crucial, and it is a responsibility you also owe to Andrew. He genuinely deserves it. Honestly, I found myself leaning towards acceptance. I genuinely did. However, facing the truth turned out to be excruciatingly painful. The idea of unraveling all that I had built with Andrew over the years felt utterly unimaginable. Yet, could I genuinely persist in this charade? Persist in the facade of normalcy, even when the truth is glaringly apparent? I was utterly oblivious. That night, after Ryan had left, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wrapped in a confusion enveloped me entirely. I pondered over the many years spent with Andrew and the deep love I carried for him. In that moment, I found myself contemplating the connection I had with Ryan, how he sparked a new energy within me and made me feel truly seen in a way I hadn't felt in ages. At first, it wasn't focused on love, but looking back, I realized it grew into something profound, something I had yearned for throughout the years. I realized that I could no longer ignore it. I discovered myself ensnared in a peculiar limbo. At a crossroads I stood, engulfed in uncertainty about which path to choose and the repercussions that awaited me. Little did I know what consequences awaited me should I choose to confront Andrew. Would he find it in his heart to forgive me if I laid bare the truth? Could he genuinely accept it, or would I discover that I had to relinquish everything I had worked so tirelessly to achieve? The subsequent days unfolded in a haze. I persisted in embodying the wife that Andrew envisioned and the friend he longed for. Ryan awaited with eager anticipation. Yet, beneath the surface I was shattered. I could no longer sustain it. I found it impossible to pretend that all was well when the truth was glaringly clear that it was not. One evening, Andrew returned home earlier than usual. He looked utterly drained, yet somehow found the strength to smile and place a gentle kiss on my forehead, just as he always had. On this occasion, however, his gaze held an unmistakable depth that made me pause. He looked at me with an intensity that suggested he could see through the mask I had been wearing. It appeared to extend infinitely. He grasped it completely. "Are you okay?" he asked, his tone gentle and laced with concern. I hesitated, my words lodged in my throat, yet a profound transformation took place within me. The pretense that all was well had become unsustainable for me. It was essential for me to be honest for the sake of our mutual well-being. "No," I responded gently. "Greetings, I find myself compelled to share something significant with you, though it weighs heavily on me. I have a secret I've been keeping from you, Andrew. I have not been honest, and I cannot carry on in this manner. I can no longer uphold this pretense." Andrew looked bewildered, his brow furrowed in a deep frown. "Could you please elaborate on your meaning? What is unfolding?" Taking a deep breath, I gathered the courage to articulate the thoughts that had been burdening me. "I find myself grappling with burgeoning feelings for Ryan, and while I'm unsure of what this truly means, I can no longer keep it from you." The silence that followed was thick, and I could feel the weight of my words lingering in the space between us. The silence lingered indefinitely, with Andrew standing still, his face a mask of mystery. My heart pounded in anticipation as I awaited his response. "Conditions." Finally, he softly broke the silence. "I find myself at a loss for words. Honestly, I found myself just as lost. Yet beneath the surface, I sensed that no matter what happened next, everything was poised for a profound change. The truth had emerged, and there was no turning back from its revelation. Uncertainty enveloped me as I stood at the precipice of the unknown, torn between the fear of losing Andrew and the faintest whisper of hope that perhaps I could repair the fractures I had caused. In that moment, it became clear to me that I had to face it head-on. I have set forth on a quest to remain true to my core, even if it means unraveling every